See that mustache coming in right here?
Huh? I do see it. I do.
little baby stash. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of the Bright Now podcast. I'm one half of the host team, Dash, and as always, I'm here with my boy, the automatic Trail 3 bucket, TJ. Welcome in, brother. What the hell are we yapping about today?
Hey, thanks for that intro. It always helps to be reminded about the Trail 3 and how much it does for us in our daily lives. Today we got another great episode jam-packed for you guys. Going to kick things off talking about a little bit Suns preseason thoughts, kind of some quick reactions to the action that we've seen so far, as well as discussing some of the other preseason games and moments that have stood out to us overall. Then the majority of this show is going to be dedicated to our NBA award draft. Woo! So we'll explain more about that when we get there, but just know we're going to be locking in our predictions today for the season that's starting right here in about a week or so.
Golly, it came by quick, didn't it?
No kidding. I mean, I feel like I still remember us getting geared up for last season, and it's a blink of an eye. I mean, when you're talking about it year round, I mean, we touched on that last week with our Taylor Swift trashing. Not Taylor Swift trashing, NFL trashing.
We would never. Swifties, we would never.
We would never. But, that's where we're sitting for this year. So getting ready, getting excited. Just to jump right into it, I think you and me were both, I don't want to say surprised, but we were pleasantly surprised by that initial showing from the Suns in that first preseason game against the Pistons. That first quarter, we all saw the stats, 46 points in their first quarter with our new monster trio of Beal, Booker, and Durant, finishing with, shooting 85% from the field with only 4 turnovers as a team. And one thing that even more specifically stood out to me about that scoring run is in the first, with 8:20 left in the first quarter, we had 14 points. So in the following 8 minutes, we scored 32 points. So sitting at 4 points a minute in that initial unit. I mean, it was a barrage of jumpers and threes and a lot of dribble handoffs, a lot of screening. But I think that was the first time, obviously the first time that we got to see the explosive offense that we're going to come to expect from the Suns this season.
Man, it was beautiful to watch, just as you were saying. I mean, a lot of those shots were also behind the arc shots, and those 3 guys are just shooters. And Devin Booker's able to provide rim pressure, but so is Bradley Beal. I mean, we haven't seen it a ton from Kevin Durant over the last couple years, but he honestly doesn't have to. I really like what I see with the rim pressure, the mid-range shots, and I really want to harp on that mid-range shot aspect because when it comes to playoff time, when it comes to net crunching time, we saw it even with the Celtics. Jason Tatum's very comfortable shooting those 3 balls, going to the rack. He used to be much better at utilizing that mid-range section, but those 3 guys on our team, really fucking good at the mid-range, and that's what's going to happen when you got guys clenching, when you got it's hard to defend when you got guys who are 3-level scorers, 3 of them to be exact, and then guys, I know we're going to get into it, but Nurkic being able to do those dribble handoffs.
Nurkic, baby.
For those people who watched the last episode, I'm not a I told you so type of guy, but boy, did I say Nurkic was going to fucking do great on this team. Holy shit. I'm getting all excited over here, guys, knocking shit over, but Nurkic proved to be an excellent supporting cast piece for this Phoenix Suns. And to preface the rest of the conversation, we're not going to be super overreacting to preseason shit. I mean, we've seen Ben Simmons do immaculate things in previous years, and he's doing immaculate things this year. I mean, 8 points isn't immaculate, but turnarounds, so we got blocks, we got steals, we got dunk shows. I don't want to overreact to everything, but I do want you to continue on to see what we saw from these 3 guys. Well, Suns as a whole, but those 3 guys specifically.
And first, just on your point about overreacting to preseason, it's really funny how when your team does something positive in the preseason, your initial reaction is, oh my God, this is going to be every night for us. And every time something wrong happens, you go, well, it's just the fucking preseason. Who cares? So that's just kind of a funny thing. It happens across the league, across sports. I mean, across all levels. That's just kind of how it goes.
Remember last year when we lost to the Australian team?
The Suns?
Yeah, that was rough.
I was Silent Bob that year.
Preseason did not matter.
Did not matter.
But, talking about going into what you mentioned about Nurk, his first possession as a Phoenix Sun, he sets 3 screens for our 3 stars. So it comes off with, they run a cross action for KD near the top of the key that he comes across. Then he sets a pick and roll, pick and roll with Booker, and then sets another cross screen for Bradley Beal. So that was the first thing that every Suns fan thought when we made that trade, is that Nurkic is going to set strong screens. He's going to play physical and tough, and that's exactly what we saw from him in these first few preseason games. I mean, Jalen Duren on the Pistons, nobody's saying that he's not a top 10 center. He's probably not a top 30 center, with all due respect.
But he's somebody.
But he's strong, he's athletic, and Nurk was battling with him. And something that we couldn't always say with Ayton, especially, I mean, we literally saw him on the other side of the court in some of the other games, but it's just something that we couldn't say with him. I mean, we'd see so many times Ayton gets a smaller guy on him, gets a guard on him, and it wouldn't be able to punish him. I mean, in that first game, Ausar Thompson gets switched on to Nurkic, and he immediately is ready for the ball and ready to just go up strong immediately, because he knows he has the mismatch and knows he's to score that 10 out of 10 times.
And what a difference from what we're used to as Suns fans. I mean, going back to what we were saying about the screens, 3 screens in a row for DeAndre Ayton. He's bitching that next possession about getting the ball in the post. And if we look at the post-up numbers for Ayton, he does not have the right to be acting like that. And to follow up with what you were saying on Nurk, I love to see somebody going straight up on a smaller defender on them. Many times we saw 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" guys on DeAndre Ayton in the post, and we saw the post fade. And sometimes it would go in, don't get me wrong, but holy shit, optically.
If Marcus Smart was on him, it was a bad matchup for Ayton.
Ooh, it was bad. Give that shit up. Give it up.
Exactly. If he's on you, that means he's not guarding Booker right now. Give it to Book.
Exactly. So it's just so beautiful to watch, and to keep on going with what you're saying with the Nurkic stuff. A lot of it seemed like he wanted to be, I use this term maybe a little too much, but Jokic light out there. And I'm not calling him Jokic light, the Dollar General, the what's under Sengun, the Walmart, the off-brand, the dollar store. Yeah, the great value version of Jokic. And that's just saying that he's able to space the floor. Those dribble handoffs in the mid-range were just so sexy to look at. I mean, giving that slight opening for those 3 guys who can get their shot off with ease, a dribble handoff in the mid-range is going to be there every single time, right?
No, you're exactly right, and it's something that I had thought about a couple of times that had crossed my mind. Obviously, he's not Jokic, but I just thought about back to them being on those same Nuggets teams, and the Nuggets kind of making that choice between 2 guys that at the time were really viewed really similarly. And I mean, there's possessions where he's bringing the ball up the court for us. Maybe they're pressuring on the outlet pass, and he just decides to take it, and he can initiate the offense really smoothly. I mean, he's a really smooth passer. He's what you want from a center with a team that we are currently constructed with, where
he's a professional.
100%. He knows his role, and he's going to do his job. And I can't be more excited.
That beautifully put. Although we saw a lot of great things from the Suns teams, did you have any more positive points to hit on? Because I did see a few things that were kind of iffy. For example, Josh Okogie, love him, love how he's played the last 2 years. I think he's not an upcoming star by any means, but a role star. And I felt like I saw him standing around a lot. I mean, it's probably going to happen with 3 guys that are superstar or former superstar levels. But to counter that, he also was cutting when he needed to. Not going to get the ball a ton, unfortunately. And he always crashed the glass hard and was active where he could be. But it did seem like there was a lot of standing around as comparison to last year, when there was times where he could cut, make a little, off the dribble move. But what did you see with the negatives?
Yeah, so that's definitely part of it, where we can't just have guys totally standing around when our big 3 have the ball and are trying to cook. Obviously, sometimes, hey, you do just have to spot up in the corner and almost get out of the way of some of these better offensive players. But I really saw some more positives from Okogie overall. He's running the floor hard. He was guarding their best player, Cade Cunningham, and doing a really good job, just staying strong and playing good. Also wanted to credit Bradley Beal for guarding Ausar Thompson in that game as well. Obviously, Ausar, he's a rookie. This is kind of a welcome to the league moment for him. But I feel like Bill was doing a really solid job there. So that definitely got me more excited for the season. And before I totally harp on the negatives, there's a few more shout outs I want to give to some of the new additions to the team. First, we see like the first off the bench in that first Pistons game, were Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon coming in for Bradley Beal and Okogie. And immediately Grayson is flying all over the place, just hustling his ass off. He's ready to swing the ball whenever and given the extra pass. So really seeing Grayson Allen come in and make an immediate impact was again a pleasant surprise. I was had some high hopes for him coming in just as being a rotation player, somebody that's going to come in, probably guard some of the team's better offensive wings, right? He's going to need to be able to step up in some of those roles when, like we saw here at Kogi coming out of the game, Grayson Allen stepping in to guard their better wings. So that's definitely a great positive. Again, we saw Yuta Watanabe come in.
My bad, not to cut you off. With Grayson Allen, I just wanted to add real quick before we stray too far away. I know I already said it on the last pod, but it's somebody that you hate to play against, love to play with. I saw multiple times where he was recklessly coming into the paint, crashing for rebounds super hard, and it's not pretty. I'll give it that. It's not pretty, but it is something that you do need. Being extra physical, a little bit reckless out there, you need it as a winning team.
Yeah, that's one of those championships teams always have those guys.
Has that guy, whether it be Draymond Green, you know what I'm saying, or if it be Bruce Brown, we can keep on going forever.
Yep. No, totally with you there. So super exciting to see him suiting up in a Suns uniform, especially as never was a lot of people were always Grayson haters. I was never the biggest hater of his. I was always kind of leaned Duke in some ways and was kind of a fan of his. So definitely good to be rooting for him. Like you said, hate playing against him. And so that's definitely a great guy to have. So the next person that had really impressed me, besides Eric Gordon, which we can talk about that all day, but he's another guy that gonna knock down threes, gonna play hard. He's still really crafty with the ball too and get into the rack. So it gave me more hope for our bench units moving forward, or especially if there's God forbid an injury to one of our top guys, that Eric Gordon can slide in and will still be a net positive overall.
For sure. And I'm excited for later on in the podcast. I know you got a little bit of spicy talking about Eric Gordon. I can't wait to hear it, but I'll let you continue.
We'll touch on EG in a little bit. So we had the next guy that really excited me was Yuta Watanabe. Comes into the game, immediately knocks down a corner three.
Splash.
Another possession where he's leading the fast break and gets the assist to the finish. I don't know if it might have been a hockey assist, but again, super impressive to see that. And then another play where he beats somebody off the dribble and knocks down a mid-range shot as well. So he's going to be a guy that's getting, in the 20-minute range overall, but is going to have a positive impact for the team. And again, just somebody has to score when these second groups are on the floor. We can't always have one of those three on the court. Theoretically, we can, but in the regular season, that's just not feasible.
Not likely, yep.
So it's definitely nice to see Yuta. And then finally, a big shout. Unless you have do you want to touch on Yuta at all?
No, I mean, I was, like I said, bullishly high on him in our first podcast, and it's amazing to see. He's, like I said, not trying to overreact, but it's exactly what we need from this team. We need someone who's going to continue to press up on that break and then hit corner threes. They're going to be there, and they're going to be there, and Yuta's going to knock them down. Did you touch on Keita Diop at all?
So I think with KBD, I'm a little bit TBD right now. There were positive signs. There were negative signs. He wasn't always didn't totally seem engaged all the time, but that comes with the territory of, building team chemistry and things like that. Somebody that did impress me though was the Shaq of Troutdale, Mr. Drew Eubanks.
Yeah.
So big shout out to him. I mean, he had one play where he catches it in the high post, does a spin move, hits the, kind of a falling away, jump hook, kind of fadeaway shot. And I did not expect it, did not see it coming from him. But it's one of those things where, hey, we see the skills. He's obviously not encouraged to do that every possession. But it's still nice to kind of have a center that's going to fill the same kind of gaps that Nurkic does. And both him and Nurkic can split base the floor a lot better than Ayton ever could. So that's, kind of rounding out the positives there. What really stuck out to me as far as, wow, the Suns really filled out this roster well. And the most important piece that I want to talk about is our final three plays in that first half against the Blazers in that first game. We ran a Booker and Nurkic pick and roll 3 possessions in a row and scored different ways each time. First time, Booker drives to the right after the pick, hits Nurkic on the roll. He finishes. The next time, they drive right. The Eric Gordon's in the far corner, the weak side corner. His defender slides in to stop the roll man. Booker hits him in the corner for the wide open 3, cash. then the next time Booker drives right and just did Devin Booker things and hits the big time shot there at the end of the half. But the same play happened 3 times in a row. Literally everybody's in the same spots, and we had a different reaction to it. It's like it's almost the basketball version of running an RPO now that we always hear about in the NFL, where it's all about just making the read. It's not a set offense, which really impressed me about the Suns offense overall, is that there aren't designed sets like crazy. I know the NBA goes away from those things for the most part anyway, just because of how talented these guys are, but it's all dribble handoffs, screening away, ball screens, cross screens, and anything that we can do. And it just felt like a real free-flowing offense, which is great to see.
And how sexy is it to just hear as a Suns fan that Devin Booker is able to make these kind of plays? Because throughout his career, there was people giving him credit for those early Suns years where he was by default the point guard in terms of just being the most skilled person and someone who's not going to turn the ball over and over. Exactly. And then going into that phase where, he's a true shooting guard. He's someone who's going to get you some buckets, and that's all he's known for. But people had concerns about his playmaking ability, and I think me and you have always seen it. But it's great that the masses are finally going to have that opportunity. And like I said, not trying to overreact to the preseason. I get it. But making those reads, just like you said, those 3 plays in a row, we're going off of our talent, and boy, do we got some talent. We got some smart guys out there, high IQ player in Devin Booker, who's trying to win basketball games. Him and Kevin Durant come from the same cloth that I don't give a fuck. If you're going off, I'm going to get you the rock. I'm going to make the right play every single time. And if it comes down to it that I need to take the shot, I'm more than capable of doing so. So it's just very sexy to see. Ending off the positive and negative segments with the Suns, I did want to hit on one part that kind of involves the Suns, and it's the venting session with Dash and TJ. And we're talking about DeAndre Ayton's soft ass, and pardon me, I don't want to go too hard on him, but good God almighty. I mean, how soft is it in your opinion that he didn't even show up to play for that game inside of Phoenix? I mean, I saw a funny thing. We're talking about Charmin Ultra Soft. You know what I'm saying? Get the Bears in here. Get the Bears in here. But with that, I think DeAndre Ayton's inconsistencies with the Suns it needs to be, reciprocated back. People are questioning, should we boo Ayton when he comes back? Are people going to be cheering for him? Is it just going to be really nothing? And I think we should do all 3. I think we should reciprocate that back. We should cheer him on one time that he's here. We should boo him the next time. We shouldn't say shit the next. We should just reciprocate the same energy. Did you have any feelings about the game that he did play and the game that he didn't play?
I mean, mostly gratitude in that first Blazers game. And in the gratitude being that he's no longer a Phoenix Sun, guys.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a secret that we were never the highest on him. I went through plenty of ups and downs. I think you could go back to our first episode, and I'm trying to build up the hype train again. But it's so much more comforting to have Yusuf Nurkic down low, just a consummate professional, and not somebody that is going to stay up all night streaming 2K and Call of Duty games. Arizona just has an affinity for number 1 draft picks that don't like to play the sport that they play.
But love them some Call of Duty. Look at the numbers. Every time the newest one drops, Kyler Murray, stats go down, losses go up. Don't get me started.
So I totally hear you there as far as Ayton goes. I do think that the Suns had some bigger negatives as a whole. Ayton being gone is a positive to me. He still I think he put up 7 points in that first game against the Blazers. He had the one strong dunk on a roll. I remember seeing that the Blazers broadcast kept replaying. But it was one of those things where you still see him catch the ball on the short roll and try to alligator arm something instead of just powering through like the strong athlete. His vertical is insane. He should be able to hammer it on people all the time. So that was actually the opposite of disappointing. It was reassuring that, all right, we made this trade for a reason and we have bigger aspirations than this. And I think Ayton's aspirations just didn't totally align with Booker, KD's, and Beal's, or Matt Ishbia's, to be frank. And so I think that's where I kind of draw the line now. And I'm rooting for Ayton. I hope he does well in Portland. I hope he stays, stays in the NBA. He's not going to China anytime soon. He's still an uber talented player, right? But but so long, DeAndre Ayton.
So long. No,
thanks for the years.
1 million and 10% agree. I don't mean to throw, we didn't really go over this question at all, but is there a time where you kind of accepted that was the last time that you were going to believe in DeAndre Ayton becoming a really good player? I'll give you mine, for example, give you some time to think about it. During the regular season, towards the end of last year, he had I believe it was a streak where he had like 30 points and 15 rebounds or something like that, like multiple times. I can't remember the exact stats, but I think that was the last time where even a sliver of me was thinking like, hey, maybe he's figured it out. Maybe he's got the motor. Maybe now that they got KD on the team, he's got a little bit more respect for the organization as a whole, just because he was there with Booker during those trenches, and maybe he also feels like they're on the same echelon level. I just got disappointed again. That was the real, true last straw for me personally.
I do think my closest, in the same kind of vein of what you're talking about, is the last time I thought that he was really going to be a top tier center was that finals run. I remember we had text threads talking about, are we sure he's not a top 5 center? Just
top 5.
Once you list out the top 3 or 4 centers, it kind of falls off a cliff in a sense. So I think that was when I was really, really believed in it. And then he kind of won me back over those first few Kevin Durant games right before he got hurt that first time, because it does seem like he turned up the motor. I know he had said in quotes before that like Durant was his favorite player growing up. So I think that was something that really helped him out and got his kind of juices going. But then that can only last so long, right? Eventually you can live in the nicest house in the world. Eventually you're just going to think of it as a house at a certain point. And that's kind of how Ayton felt with Durant. So it was time for a breakup. It seemed pretty mutual at the end there anyway, especially with some of the quotes he's had in Portland so far.
Soft.
So we'll see how it ends up. But thanks for the time.
Yeah, no, I agree. DeAndre Ayton, you will unfortunately not be missed. And before we hit our break real quick, I did want to go over the league as a whole for preseason, but kind of last second, I saw a matchup that kind of took the league by storm, took social media by storm, took my friend group of people that I talk basketball with by storm, and that was the Victor Wembanyama versus Chet battle in the preseason. And I'll say it for the last time, preseason, I know. But holy shit, was it kind of crazy to watch. I mean, you got 7-1+ guys going out there, handling the ball, bringing it up, making post moves, looking real Kevin Durant-ish. Obviously, I mean, Wembanyama's got more of the stock as a whole within the basketball community, but Chet kind of held his own, right? Or am I tripping?
No, you were 100%. I think you could say more than that Chet hold his own. A lot of people could have said that he won that matchup.
Yeah.
Especially just looking at those first half stats, right? But 100% took over the world by storm. You said it best, where it really is the Kevin Durantification of the league, where all these guys that grow up seeing the 7-footer handling the ball, shooting jumpers, that's what kids want to do. It's what's fun. Mm-hmm. That's how Chet obviously grew up playing the game. It's obviously how Victor grew up playing the game. And we're going to see tons of more guys like Cooper Flagg coming up now in high school that are going to be in the same kind of echelon in that sense.
So excited.
So it was a super fun matchup. Some of those, it definitely gave me more hope for Victor as well. Just seeing him, he wasn't guarding Chet on that end of the floor, right? I saw some tweet that said that, Chet didn't score on Victor once. Well, he wasn't fucking guarding him, guys. But you see the length. He's going to have an immediate defensive impact. The offense is going to, as far as preseason is concerned, the offense with him seems farther along than I expected it to be. Just like, there's a ton more space for him to work with, and he can handle the ball and he can shoot the ball, and
the 3-ball was ridiculous.
He can dunk from the restricted area.
He dunked from the restricted area. You cannot say that enough. Holy shit, Thomas Bryant,
not elite. No. Just jumped straight up in the air and threw his arm down like Blake Griffin on Timofey Mozgov. Except he grabbed the rim.
Unreal. Except he grabbed the rim. Real. No, unfucking real. I cannot lie. I mean, like you said, jumping from outside the restricted area and landing not in the restricted area is just absurd to watch. I did want to throw you a question that was posed to me yesterday. Do you think that it's going to be a little bit hard for the league to promote it to the average fan if the league does keep on going this way? If everybody out there is going to be 7-footers, or if like the best player of all time is a 7'4" guy, like, of course, the only way you're going to be the best in basketball is if you're the tallest. Or, everybody has that image of the 6'6", the Michael Jordans of the world being the best of the best. Do you think it kind of ruins it, or are you all here for the future to see the 7'4", my career build player coming out and dominating the league? Are you okay with that?
So I think I'll always be here for the future as far as basketball is concerned. I never want to be one of those old heads saying that the game hasn't improved year over year, because these guys just simply get better at basketball. When you have a bigger foundation to build off of, you're going to learn more at a younger age. My counterpoint to that is, before Michael Jordan, it was a big man's game. After Michael Jordan, it was still kind of a big man's game. And then we kind of went into the LeBron area, where it seemed like for a while, the small forward position has kind of seemed the most important, because it's the tweener of the two. You're not a point guard, not a center. You're just kind of smack dab in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm super excited to see more guys this size come into the NBA. Guards aren't going anywhere. There's still going to be room there's still going to be, if you're good enough at basketball at 6'2", you can play in the NBA. I think that's
Steph
how
Curry.
tall is Scoot, right? He looks insane. Yep. Steph, that's gonna change. Guys that are smaller are going to be that much better of shooters. These big guys know how to handle the ball now. It's just going to be a way more skilled NBA, and I'm definitely excited for it. I'm excited to almost see what comes out, how the league's going to react to that afterwards, and see if, is there going to be an emphasis later on getting like bigger bruisers again, and how it's going to like turn again.
Yep.
But it's the Kevin Durant effect. You see a guy like that if you're a kid growing up to be 6'10", you're not watching, Amari Stoudemire highlights anymore, or Kevin Garnett. Even Kevin Garnett can handle it definitely more than others, and that was kind of like the first stages of it. But yeah, you're going to be watching the Kevin Durants of the world. Now you're going to be watching Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren for the next 12 to 15 years.
It's awesome. I'm excited. And just like going back to your point, I know we should probably finish up on this segment, but man, I love those big, bulky bigs that they just throw out there to stop people. I mean, you got Big Country, Greg Ostertag, those real big just beefcakes out there. Yeah, Rick Smith's out there just coming out there just to put some weight on you. Love those kind of guys. But I think that's a good transition into going to our awards draft. We've been low-key been wanting to do this for a minute now. We've kind of been pushing it off.
It's been a while.
I'm excited. Season's coming up. Long time coming. Let's get into it after the break. You see TJ has switched it up right here. He's got a little mahogany wood action back there. Is that shit fake? Show the masses. Knock on that.
Not a background.
That's real.
All natural.
Bad and bougie.
Maybe if you read a book every once in a while, you know what a fucking library looks like. God damn.
But y'all wouldn't know that. Y'all wouldn't know that.
I wouldn't.
And we're back. We're going straight into it. The 2023 to 2024 awards prediction. We're going to go in a snake draft and see whose team was better at the end. Make sure to let us know down in the comments below. But how the snake draft works is, I don't know, some of you probably already know, but let me just break it down real quick. We're going to go from Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, Clutch Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and then Most Valuable Player. So we're going to start off. TJ does get the first pick, being an old ass that he is. The old heads always go ahead and get their love. He is going for the Rookie of the Year selection, and then I'll get my next one, which is going to be Coach of the Year. I'll have the first pick. So start us off, TJ. Who do you got for Rookie of the Year, baby?
I'm really going against the grain on this one. Just I'm a notoriously big Zag guy.
Mm-hmm.
Victor Wembanyama.
Get the fuck out of
here. He's going to be insane. The only reason he doesn't win Rookie of the Year this year is if he doesn't play 65 games. And I'm not in the spirit of betting against guys' health. That's not fun. Let's just say everybody's healthy. We just turned injuries off in 2K24, right?
Yeah.
I think he's the Rookie of the Year. I don't want to harp on it too much since we had just touched on it in the last segment, but the defense is going to have an immediate impact, blocking shots from wherever. Him guarding, the power forwards to like wing types is going to be really beneficial for him to be able to play better help defense than he would if he was trying to bang with centers. I think he would just get hunted a little too much with that, which we might see them try to hunt switches with bigger guys. I mean, the first time he gets switched onto Jokic in a pick and roll is probably going to be hell. He's going to get put in a body bag probably, just with the brute strength of that guy.
Embiid. Yep.
And also, right now he's sitting at plus 25 on BetMGM. A few weeks ago when we first were kind of kicking off this idea, he was minus 430, which was like the only true favorite at the time. So as of now, he still has the biggest lead of any favorite as far as the awards races go. But I don't know how you can pick again. I wanted to pick Scoot so bad, but I just didn't totally see it in those games against the Suns and just in like the other buzz that we've kind of heard around the league. Victor really grabbed the NBA world by storm.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't want to pick Victor fucking Wembanyama, like the generational guy. So, who I definitely had picked first, and you kind of already touched on him. It's going to be Scoot Henderson. I personally did like a lot of what I saw. Like you said, it is the reality of the situation. Injuries will be a thing that we'll have to consider here. But I did go from a stance that if everything was healthy, and I do think that Scoot could potentially face issues with injuries. I mean, my other guy that I was thinking of was Chet. I mean, I don't think that's an awful pick either, but we're going with Scoot Henderson. I think he just has the higher volume, the more potential to put up those big numbers. He's going to have the reins all the way with Damian Lillard leaving. And I just really like how his game's played. He's a much better passer than I initially thought he was, even looking at his G League highlights. I mean, he did put up the numbers, but shit, I mean, from summer league to the preseason, I've loved what I've seen from his decision making, and his absolute athleticism is just fucking ridiculous, whether it be vertical or horizontal. This man is getting to wherever he needs to be and doing it with some strength too. I really love to see that. He's stronger than Chet and Wemby combined.
Oh, 100. He's Eric Bledsoe with a work ethic.
Yes. Who doesn't want to be in the salon?
That's what I saw from that first game, seeing him, that first footage. Like, his arms are so long, and he's built like a middle linebacker, and he fast as all hell, strong as all hell. He's definitely gonna be a problem in this league, but I had to go with my guy Vic.
No, I completely understand. Like I said, definitely considering Victor if I had that first pick. But Scoot also has that ferocity, that going at someone and not giving a fuck mentality. I mean, we did see it last year with the G League versus Vic, and that's something that I love to see. And I know I might get a lot of hate from this comment right here, but I genuinely think that Scoot Henderson is a smarter version of Russell Westbrook. Take that with what you will. I'll leave that there. I'll let that thought marinate. But moving on from there, and I do want to talk about Chet just for a real quick second. He's not my pick, but I do believe Chet does have a high chance, having a whole year to get that NBA body ready. Still looking skinny, obviously, but a lot better than I would say his real true rookie year when he fucking snapped his foot playing with LeBron in a little pickup game. And I also think that Chet might not have the numbers that Wemby and Scoot will have the potential to do, but I think he'll probably beat them out in the efficiency department by a long shot, right? Having SGA, having Giddey to feed him, having Jalen Williams to do that dirty work. I'm excited. That's what I'll say. I'm excited about this rookie class. So excited. Is there any other sleepers?
So just pulling up the odds right now, just for the people keeping track at home, Scoot and Chet are both sitting at plus 300, right behind Wemby at that plus 125. The next closest is Brandon Miller, 1,400. Then we got Amen Thompson and a surprise visit from Cam Whitmore. So people have been really high on him. Must have been a lot of bets coming in after those first few preseason games that we saw.
Hell yeah.
I hear you. Definitely excited for all of these guys. Some more than others, of course. But that's going to be, definitely looking forward to seeing how this Rookie of the Year race plays out. And so from there, I think that takes us into you with your Coach of the Year pick.
Yeah, and my first pick is going to have to be, I'm not sure if you have the odds on this, TJ, but Coach of the Year is going to be Mike Malone. I think this will be finally the year that he gets respect on his fucking name. He hasn't mentioned enough times already with beating the Lakers and everything, but he's my pick for his team being the number 1 seed. I mean, when you have Nikola Jokic, you're probably going to end up getting that 1 seed at some point, especially with a healthy cast around here. But especially if there is an injury, whether it be, Jamal again, I pray to God it doesn't happen just as a basketball fan, whether it be Aaron Gordon, the defensive stopper, or MPJ, and Jokic in any sense, but that just doesn't happen. The Serbian just does not know how to get hurt. I definitely think that he'll get some more respect on his name, and whether they do have an injury within some of those people and they end up in the top 4 seed, I think that the masses, the voters, and everybody will recognize that he's a pretty good fucking coach. I mean, good enough to handle the what is it called? The attitude within the locker room. I mean, we heard that Jamal Murray story with him and Mike Malone, and Mike Malone was there for bro, and it was just a beautiful story when Jamal Murray considered himself damaged goods, and Coach Malone said, "Fuck that! Like, get that out of your head immediately. Like, we need you out here, bro. Get yourself healthy. We're gonna win a chip." And That's exactly what the fuck they did.
No, you're 100% right. Pulled up the odds here. He has the 16th best odds from coaches, sitting at plus 2,500. So a good value bet there for the people at home.
I'm going to put a 50 bomb on that one. What?
Full disclosure, I am based in Georgia and do not gamble on sports
games.
Does
not gamble.
Arizona. Just to be clear to the
AZ Wild West, baby.
God bless all you in those states. What do you got to say? A call of 1-800-GAMBLER, whatever those ads always say. But yeah, Michael Malone sitting at plus 2,500. You laid out the perfect case for him. If the Nuggets are the top seed or top 2 best records in the league sort of situation, I think his name's definitely going to be in consideration. And then coming back to my coach of the year pick, not quite. I thought it was going to be a dark horse until we just saw where Michael Malone's sitting, but I'm going with Taylor Jenkins of the Memphis Grizzlies.
I like that.
They were top three in defensive rating last year. They were top 3 in steals per game, blocks per game, and top 5 in rebounds. So the defense has been elite for some time now. Obviously, with Triple J kind of holding down the fort down low next to Steven Adams. Of course, people are going to say that, hey, they're not going to have Ja for 25 games. What the hell is going to happen? But in the last 2 years without Ja, the most recent season, they were 11-10 without him. Obviously not great, but still positive. And the year before, they were 20-5 without him. So I think if they can come out of that 25 game stretch, 15-10, 14-11, somewhere in that ballpark, I think that puts them on pace for when Ja Morant comes back to really, go on another tear and finish in the top 4, top 3 in the West. And I think that with him missing all those games, they do have a very good team. Obviously, Marcus Smart's going to be able to come in and help take some of that load that they're losing with Ja in the first games. D Rose being around should be a positive influence on Ja overall. I'm a big Desmond Bane supporter. I mean, he's legit. He's strong. He can shoot. He can defend. Last season, it kind of shocked me. I hadn't seen his stats for last year in a while. 21.5 points, 5 boards, 4.4 assists. So Desmond Bane is legit.
And he's 25. He's 25 years old.
Exactly. Taylor Jenkins finished 10th in coach of the year last year. And so I think with Ja missing that time, it's actually going to bump up his stock as a coach. They're going to come out swinging. And so if they can escape those first 25 with about 15 wins, I think they're sitting pretty.
That's a phenomenal pick. I like that one a lot. Is there any off the top of your head that you could see as some sleepers, or that's probably going to get a little bit more love? Who does FanDuel have at number 1, actually? Scratch that. Who does FanDuel have at number 1? Do you got that up?
Yes, I got this. First off, it's BetMGM.
Sorry, my apologies.
Number 1 is Mark Daigneault. Mark Daigneault, the head coach of the Thunder.
Yes. What do they call him? They don't. Coach G. I can't remember. I feel like I don't ever hear his full name like that.
Never.
Did you hear that blank? That silence was loud between us right there. We didn't know.
No kidding. Mark Daigneault. I had to fucking Google who he coaches for, guys. I think we need to cut this. This is a Suns pod, guys. We don't. Sorry, we're not locked in on every Thunder in and out.
We need to put some respect on his name. My apologies. Fuck.
We do. Sorry, Mr. Daigneault. And then we got, Jason Kidd is 4th in odds, which I think is ridiculous.
Whoa. If they're at 500 by the end of by December, they're firing him, right?
Apparently Luka really likes him, so maybe they don't, but
shit.
Guess Frank Vogel is sitting at plus 1,600, so the same odds as Taylor Jenkins as well. So We'll definitely see. My coach of the year is always kind of a crapshoot at the end of the day. You never know what's going to happen or what's really going to impact the vote. I feel like the criteria can kind of change on a whim with this award, but that's where we stand as of now.
Hell yeah. And leading into that, who do you have? You had the first pick in this next category, which is going to be the Clutch Player of the Year.
So first of all, I need to tee off on this one for a second. This is the first time they announced this award, I immediately thought it was stupid, with all due respect to whoever came up with the Jerry West Trophy, I believe it's called. If every tweet I saw that led to De'Aaron Fox basically winning it last year was just, oh, he scored the most points in the clutch. So under 4 minutes within 5 points, I believe is the criteria. So if the award's just based on a stat, that's a stupid award. That's just a scoring leader. Like it's not an award that should be voted on. And if it is an award that's voted on, it seems like the most arbitrary of all of them in terms of like clutch. And like we know that the defensive player of the year is the best defensive player that year. MVP, the most valuable player to that team or to the league at the time. I just don't fully understand the criteria, but either way, my pick is going to be one Mr. Jalen Brunson. Ooh. And I do have some numbers to throw at you guys just about his past performance in the clutch. They were 19-16 in close games last year. So that's within the 5-point margin. So a winning record, but a lot of opportunities in the clutch. He was fourth in scoring in those clutch moments of players that had 20 or more games. I think if you extend it down to even like 15, he still stays up there. 20 is just kind of an easier cutoff there. And then he had a 49.5% effective field goal percentage in the clutch, which when you compare it to everyone else, that is amazing. And that brings down, he was 30% from 3 as his effective field goal percentage. So that's even dragging that down a little more. Is kind of so taking some more volume threes. But I think they're going to be in lots of close games fighting for seeding. And I think Jalen Brunson is going to be our clutch player of the year.
I like that. Jalen Brunson's a great pick. And I kind of wanted to go back and touch on what we were talking about, the clutch award. I think me and you are both pretty narrative guys, would you say? I do like the little, the nuance within conversations about people. The clutch award is something that I feel needs some nuance. And for that reason, I'm picking Tyrese Halliburton as my clutch player of the year. Last year we saw many times where Tyrese was able to hit literal game winner buzzer beaters.
Don't mean to cut you off. Yeah. When we were prepping for this and you told me Tyrese, I thought you meant Maxey. And I didn't totally want to shit on it, but this makes so much more sense. No disrespect to Tyrese Maxey, no disrespect. I just didn't think that was the kind of guy we're thinking about. Halliburton makes a little more sense. I get you there.
No, that is hilarious. No, yes, Tyrese Halliburton. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? No,
I was just kind of like, okay. Hot take.
I like it. No, but I think to go along with the narrative aspect that I think should be included, unless this is going to just be the scoring title. But we saw Tyrese hit those game winners with shots and make game-winning passes. I'm not sure if you remember off the top of your head, but Tyrese Halliburton had that one beautiful last-second pass with 2 seconds left. Passing is clutch, and it was to a wide open. I cannot remember. I think it was Naismith on the Indiana Pacers against the Lakers on LeBron James, and it was just something beautiful that I think needs to be factored in. Not everybody's going to be talking about the assists or the passes towards the end of the game, and then to add on top of that, the Pacers are expected to make a huge jump this year, and with the East giving up, maybe some chippy games. They've definitely improved in quality over what we've previously known at the East. We have the Bucks, we have the Sixers, we have that one Celtics team. They're kind of good. We have the Cavaliers, we have the Knicks. Just those alone, and then I have to factor in the Hawks too, probably, and the Brooklyn Nets. Those are some teams who are going to be battling it out to the end. And I just see there's going to be multiple opportunities for Tyrese to go ahead and make his name known and make it simultaneously associated with clutchness. I really like Tyrese Halliburton's game. So moving on from that, we'll go into the 6th Man of the Year award. The more I'm noticing how this is going, I'm kind of getting the shittier end of the first picks. I guess it does help having the MVP, but the hell, I just noticed this. That's on me. But 6th Man of the Year, I'm going with Vegas, Bobby Portis. The Bucks most likely being the 1 seed. And like I said, they have the highest odds with Bobby Portis being that 6th Man of the Year. I just like everything that it provides. Whether it be from, as we talked again, a narrative aspect, Bobby Portis can, in a sense, be the heart and soul of this team. If you've watched any of the Bucks games, home games, every time he comes on the floor, the crowd goes absolutely ape shit for bro. And whether it be the Squidward-looking eyes at points, that really gets the crowd going. it's great to see. I mean, he can stretch out the floor. He's a great offensive rebounder, a great defensive rebounder, able to set screens, work with Giannis. And like I said, loved by most people, not just in the Bucks organization, but in the league. I feel like a lot of people are a fan of him. And maybe not, Mirotic fans. I know he broke his jaw in practice, but the 28-year-old could arguably be hitting his prime right now and go ahead and make a run for Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah, that's a very solid pick. I think it's a little bit more rare to see a big man win Sixth Man of the Year. Usually it goes to the flashy heat check guard coming off the bench, but the case is totally there. Absolutely, especially if the Bucks finish with the number one record in the East or in the league. I think it just bumps his case up that much more. He plays both ends of the floor really well, so I definitely think that's an interesting pick that I definitely support.
Thank you.
Now, coming in with my spicy take
of
the Sixth Man of the Year, it's our guy, our fan favorite Phoenix Sun, Eric Gordon. His odds are plus 3,500 right now. For the Bobby Portis is a plus 2,200 on BetMGM as of now, but some of these sites they're a little bit variable at this time of the year. But Eric Gordon, I mean, he's going to be the first guy off the bench for the Suns. We're going to need him to score with our bench unit. Like, we need him to. So there's going to be a real case for his role. He possibly could even be closing some games against smaller teams, or when we're doing kind of the offense-defense substitutions. He's definitely going to be involved in close games. He can absolutely still shoot with the best of them and overall score with the best of them, like we touched on earlier. He's still crafty at getting to the rim and can hit a nice Euro step, pull up jumpers, floaters, and a very solid passer as well. He only scored 12 points a game last year and had been kind of down from his career highs. But it was with a team that he was just in kind of poor situations, getting thrown into the Clippers midseason after being on that like dysfunctional Rockets team. He last season though, 58% true shooting, 37% from three. The case is there for him. The main case against him is that he's going to be 35. The oldest to ever win this award was Bobby Jones at age 31 in 1983.
Was that with the Sixers?
There, maybe.
I think Bobby Jones is on the Sixers. That was an elite ass team. Hey, if y'all don't know your history, just say it.
You caught me slipping there with Bobby Jones, but I think I'm going to throw him on an immaculate grid one of these days now.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of players that are a lot more dynamic that have, better, like higher odds in terms of, probability to get the award. But if the Suns are elite, like we think they should be, there's no reason that it can't be him.
That's a sexy pick. I really like that one. And like you said, he's someone who's just an overall professional as a whole. He's going to come out there and the statement that he needs to produce out there is real. Is very, very real. We need him to come in there and make some sort of impact with any of our big three out there with the presence of behind the arc shooting. And like you said, he was put into a, let's not say shitty situation, but definitely kind of a weird one being on the Clippers last year and was still able to provide, just as you said. And it's really a beautiful thing to watch. Moving on from that, with your first pick, let's hear what your defensive player of the year is. And before you get into that, last year, did you feel that Jaren Jackson Jr. was deserving of the defensive player of the year award?
I didn't love the minutes played aspect of it. If you want to talk about just, hey, when they're on the court, who's the best defender in the league, it easily could go to him. I don't think I necessarily would have voted for him if I had one. I maybe would have gone Mobley, but also who totally knows there. The playoffs kind of mess with your memory when it comes to that stuff.
Leaves a bad taste in the mouth.
Exactly. Exactly. So deserving enough, I think. But this year, who I think is really going to deserve it is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. He led the league in defensive rating last year. Of course, they had a great team defense with him, Drew Holiday, and Brook Lopez. Brook finishing top 5 in defensive player of the year last year. But with Brook another year older, Drew gone, and a subpar defender like Damian Lillard sliding in, I expect them to still have an elite defense, and I think it's going to be on the back of Giannis. I think he's going to understand now he can save energy on the offensive end in a way that, it sounds kind of weird. Usually it's the other way around, but knowing that, okay, Dame can go get us buckets and stuff. I can do what I'm good at and what I work on with my game and still be, a high level player on the defensive side. So I think, last year, he averaged 11.8 rebounds, 0.8 steals, 0.8 blocks. The year that he won the award already he had 1 steal and 1 block per game. So there are numbers do need to take a step up a little bit. I believe he was also averaging like 13 rebounds that year. So not big differences, but different bounces here and there definitely change a few things. That summer he spent with Hakeem, obviously we're thinking about what he's going to be doing on offense from the post move standpoint. But there's no way that they only talked about offense. There had to have been, some defensive kind of ideas, IQ things.
For sure. And someone like Hakeem averaging 3 steals throughout his career, I'm sure he's had a little bit of knowledge to drop on him. That is a great point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so hopefully we see, he's already been an elite defender, maybe the best in the league. If you're just talking just straight up, who do you want on any given night? But he's got the tools, like we said, and hopefully should win Defensive Player of the Year this year. His odds are currently sitting at plus 700.
That's immaculate. And I think the GMs as a whole agree with you. I don't know if you recently saw the list I believe it was The Athletic that put it out, but they were interviewing all 30 GMs and pretty consensusly said that Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best defender in the league. So I don't think that's an awful pick at all. Something that I do have to zag a little bit on, and this might be a surprising take. I want to get the TikTok camera on for this one. One of the craziest things that I believe will happen in the NBA in history at all that's going to be happening this season is a rookie winning Defensive Player of the Year, and I'm talking about Victor Wembanyama, the guy that stands at 7'4" with no shoes and has a reach that could touch maybe the top of the fucking backboard without jumping. I think has a pretty great case for it this year. I mean, we saw the steal happen in the preseason, the get beat, come back and snatch that shit and come back and finish it, flush it down. And then we also saw that multiple times that he got beat on the perimeter and came back and smacked that shit into the 5th row. I think just off of pure athleticism, off of pure agility, off of pure measurables, Victor Wembanyama has a case to be the greatest defensive player of all time. And if that's where he stands, and his legacy rests on, he more than surpassed the hype in my opinion. Fuck all the 3-pointers. That's cool. I love that. I love all that. But the defensive ability and the defensive impact that he's going to have at this young age already for sure needs to put on some weight. But weight doesn't matter when, regardless of how big you are, bro can come over and tap that shit with his 9-foot reach, it seems like. Am I crazy for that?
I don't think you're crazy. I've already given my Victor spiel earlier, but one thing I do want to touch on is the odds for him to win Defensive Player of the Year. Currently sitting at plus 2,000, and he's actually has the same odds as Joel Embiid and former Defensive Player of the Year Draymond Green.
I'm saying it's not out of this realm.
Vegas sees it right now. Jaren Jackson's the favorite at plus 550. It kind of seems like an easy pick to do, obviously with him. But no, I don't think you're crazy. I don't think there's much more. Nothing really more for me to add as far as what you just laid out there. There's a path. There's 100% a path to him doing it. Obviously, the games played is going to be a big factor. The night-to-night impact that it's going to have on his body. But we'll see. I'm here for it.
Man, and I think that would be truly historic to watch. I'm so excited. I'm so high on dude. I just love all the care that he does take into his body. Obviously, that's what everybody's very concerned about, is how his body's going to hold up in such a grown man's league. But I'd like to remind everybody that he was playing in a grown man league before this. Obviously, not the same amount of athleticism as we see in the NBA, but some of those European dudes are just fucking huge. And they were trying to give Wemby the work. I'm sure they were doing their best to try to throw a little bit of these elbows out there at him, but there's only so much that you can do. And so with that, we're going into the biggest, the sexiest award that everybody likes to talk about all season, the MVP. And this is where I finally get my time to shine in a truly important category. And I'm going with Giannis. There's not a lot to go with to explain on this one. Giannis with a chip on his shoulder. That also means get the fuck out the way and let him work. With someone like Damian Lillard being there to be the best Robin that we've potentially seen since D Wade with his season with LeBron James, I'm expecting to see a similar type of season from him. As you alluded to earlier, he's going to have time to relay a little back on the offensive end and have some energy. And with that, we're going to see a absolute monstrous season with the defensive numbers, with the efficiency levels that the open looks like he's going to get. The assist totals are probably going to be off the fucking charts with the double team on the pick and roll. I am just so excited to see Giannis go ahead and have, like I said, the chip on his shoulder. People are talking shit. People already forgot about the 50-point closeout Game 6 game in the NBA Finals, and I think he's here to remind these motherfuckers who he is, the Greek freak. And I'm not saying freak time for Damian Lillard and Giannis. That's just too much sauce for me. Freak time is crazy. I'm good. But what do you think? I mean, you picked him for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm sure you're not rolling your eyes at this pick.
No, not totally. I just know you're the biggest Giannis fan in the world. So I totally get it. He's sitting at plus 550 on BetMGM right now. Jokic is the favorite at plus 450.
Understandable.
You laid out the case. Couldn't have really put it better myself. So going into my pick, a man that has the 9th best odds, the 2nd best odds on his own team to win MVP, which is Devin Armani Booker at plus.
We love the homer pick.
It's a Suns pod. Of course, I'm going to give awards to 2 Suns. What did you guys think? What did you think we were going to do here?
Fuck you mean?
The case for him is going to be one of those best player on the best team. So Suns finishing at the top of the West, hopefully the top of the league. He's going to have to be the focal point on offense, and he's going to have to guard great offensive players throughout the year. We saw a Kogi lineup on the best player and Beal kind of go to the next best point guard in some of these preseason games. But Booker's going to have to guard good players. We can't hide him on defense. Not that we ever necessarily hid him, but it wasn't a focal point for him, which I think it will be this year. And then again, with the offense, I said it before, he's going to be the engine that makes everything go. He's the head of the snake. It all starts and finishes with Devin Booker. His biggest issue with last year was that he just missed too many games to even technically qualify for an award. But his per 36 numbers came out to 29 points a game, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds. And if he can put up numbers like that, obviously per 36, advanced analytics, scary. Yeah. Even though that's not even advanced analytic, you know what I mean? Yeah. He was also 49, 35, and 85 last year. So literally a hair away from the 50, 40, 90 club. And that's going to be the case. They're going to have to finish at the top of the West and the top of the league, but I see a path.
Who's to say that he doesn't get 50, 40, 90 with a supporting cast like this one?
Exactly.
I mean, good Lord. I mean, the assist numbers are probably going to be off the charts for D-Book. The efficiency level is going to be probably the highest of his career. As we've already alluded to on previous podcasts, and a short that kind of got popped off just a little bit, where you compared, not compared, but just said that in the same age range.
Same sentence.
Devin Booker was hitting his Michael Jordan age this year. So, I mean, I'm all here for it. Obviously, as one of the biggest presidents of the Phoenix Suns organization fan club, I think that we're going to see an excellent season from Devin Booker. I didn't have the nuts. I'll be honest. I didn't have the nuts to pick him as my first. I was trying to win. We played to win, but even with that being said, I do not see a path where it's impossible for Devin Booker to win MVP. I'm really excited to see what's going on in this season. The Phoenix Suns have a lot to show, and that was our awards though. Let me trail back. That was our awards section right here.
Finishes our awards.
Yeah, let me go ahead and reread our teams. Please let us know down in the comments below who won this if you're getting to this far into it. I had Scoot Henderson for my Rookie of the Year, Mike Malone for Coach of the Year, Tyrese Halliburton for Clutch Player of the Year, Bobby Portis for Sixth Man, Wembanyama for Defensive Player of the Year, and Giannis for MVP. And TJ's was?
I had Victor Wembanyama, Taylor Jenkins, Coach of the Year. For the Clutch Award, Jalen Brunson. Sixth Man of the Year, our own Eric Gordon. Defensive Player of the Year, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And MVP, Devin Booker.
Hell yeah. And we'll put up a poll. I'll probably put it on Instagram and YouTube. You guys tell us who won between the two. But with that, we're going to take our next break as we finish off with our first team All-NBA predictions coming up next. Kind of to touch on with your spiel about, hold on, fuck. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, with our predictions for the first team All-NBA selections. Just remind everybody at home that this is now a positionless award. kind of happy about that. I feel like throughout the years we've gotten a lot of bums. Bums is a very crazy word to use, but we've had a lot of guys who probably didn't necessarily deserve to be on these All-NBA teams. Shout out DeAndre Jordan. Big fan. Some of the coolest posters, but probably not a third-team All-NBA guy. Rudy Gobert is probably not a third-team All-NBA guy in a lot of sense.
I think DeAndre Jordan made a first-team All-NBA one year.
Oh, my mistake. Yeah, he did make a first-team All-NBA. That's what I meant to say.
But that's what you mean, though, is the center position. If you need somebody at that position, especially with like forwards, you can pick from two positions. Guards, you pick from two positions. Centers, there's
weird. You have to
roster. Yeah. So it's definitely a positive change overall.
Yeah, big fan. Big progressive basketball players over here. So I'm going to go ahead and set my list first. I wouldn't say this is in order. We kind of discussed, we don't want to do it in order, but I'm just going to list them out. So I have Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Devin Armani Booker, Luka Doncic, and Jason Tatum. I'm trying to think of any similarities here. I mean, nothing crazy. I mean, these guys are all under 30, over 24. That's about it with all the similarities. Big offensive booms from most of these guys. Tatum, Giannis, and Booker are kind of the only guys that like are definitely plus defenders. You can make the argument that Jokic has those good advanced statistics at the defensive position, but go ahead and let me reread them. Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Devin Booker, Luka Doncic, and Jason Tatum. Hit me with your 5.
So we actually have 3 of the same, and oddly enough, mine would have probably technically worked with the previous format, depending on one of the guys' positions, a little bit of a tweener. But first 3 that I'll list off all had the same: Giannis, Jokic, and Booker.
Hell yeah.
What more can you say? Jokic is the best player on the planet. Booker, we both have obviously high hopes for him this year. We're probably going to talk about him a million more times, but I don't think we need to touch on any of that now. And then Giannis Antetokounmpo, again, touched on him a bunch earlier. Where I differ, though, is next I have, in place of Luka, I have Steph Curry. I think it could be a real bounce back year for the Warriors. I know they finished 6th in the standings last year. I think they can take that jump up to the higher echelon of the West. Because, Sacramento, they won a lot of close games last year. Not all of those will go their way this year. So I think they can make a leap in the standings.
Also touch on how
Sacramento.
Literally, Sacramento had no injuries. All their guys played over 73 games last year. That's unheard of.
That's unheard. Absolutely. It's crazy. So Steph Curry there. And then my next one, who I may be a little bit too big on the hype machine, but I am a big FIBA World Cup guy, and that's Anthony Edwards.
Okay.
First team All-NBA. He's going to be a big leap year. I know everyone's high on him. ESPN ranked him top 15 on their player voting, which shied me away from this a little bit, but I'm not going to let them dictate what my opinion on this is going to be. We just saw Shea take the leap and become a first team All-NBA guy, and I think everything's coming together for Anthony Edwards. I honestly think the moment I decided this was when at the Team USA practice, when he dunked on Jaren Jackson Jr. and Jaren Jackson Jr. didn't jump with him, and he said, "Ain't you the defensive player of the year?" And I jumped, like, come on.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those moments where it's like, oh, okay, he is like, he's built to be the face of the league, and in the best ways. His interviews are very candid. He's got the personality for it, and he's got the game to match.
He's hilarious. He is just flat out hilarious. Like you said, face of the league is an understatement. Me and you are both extremely high on Anthony Edwards, and every time I have the opportunity, any of my hip hop fans, he is the baby Keem of the NBA. Baby Keem is on the rise, and we have Anthony Edwards on the rise.
No, I'm totally with you. I mean, Anthony Edwards, also a Georgia Bulldog. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Sick 'em dogs. Oof, oof, oof.
But I really like that take. I mean, so the only thing that I'm going to push back on, and if I'm being completely honest, before we talked and everything we went over, I'm okay with taking Jason Tatum off for Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry has proven time and time again that he does not age. His archetype is just fucking ageless, it seems like, because he had one of his best seasons last year, and that was with all the turmoil between Jordan Poole and Draymond Green. So with a team that has...
there is a case for Tatum to take a step up, but there's also a tape for him to kind of take a step back and be more focused on the playoffs and less focused on regular season production in a way where the ball's kind of moving a little bit better. Maybe Jaylen Brown is playing a little bit better. Drew Holiday, Porzingis is going to take some shots away from somebody, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
May not be Tatum. I may look back on this and look like an idiot, and he averages 30 points a game and is the best player on the planet. But no, I think that's a good call by you. And honestly, I think it's worth saying that for the Right Now podcast preseason All NBA team, we could slide in Luka on top of Anthony Edwards. It is a little spicy for Ant. I do think he'll make one of the 3 teams this year. Had to just get him in here. But Luka, you can't go wrong with him. He's going to have the numbers we know. It's just going to be about the Mavericks team success.
For sure, and it seems like the NBA, we look at last year, Luka making first team, they're not super concerned with the team success. Maybe just for 1 year, they recognize that all the turmoil that went on within the organization, within all the moves that they had to make, but in all the injuries that were essentially Maxi Kleber. But I think it's a good idea to go ahead and slide Luka over Ant just because he is 22, 23 years old. Luka Doncic has been doing this since he was since he was a 16-year-old. And so I think it's smart for us to go ahead and give Luka that edge. And I like your Steph Curry take. I kind of feel like a dickhead for not even super considering him in my first 5. It's just
that's how I feel about Tatum.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're there. The number 36.
It makes me feel for these voters, right? Like it's hard decisions to do. And so it's credit to the guys that actually take their time to fill out these ballots. You're not going to get everybody, but shout out to the guys that take their time. I know every year there's the votes they get called out as just being ridiculous, but shout out to those NBA voters.
1,000%. And shout out to them, except that one motherfucker who gave Carmelo Anthony a vote over that year where LeBron just dicked down the entire league.
Yeah, it's not always great. Not always great. I think the one that sticks out to me is Isaiah Thomas getting a Defensive Player of the Year vote 1 year.
This is news to me.
No, that's facts. It was the year that it was the Isaiah Thomas season, 2018, when he was.
Bro needs to lose all his credentials immediately.
He might have.
Hasn't been heard from since.
Yeah, no clue, man. No clue.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this was a banger, TJ. Good shit out there. I really appreciate you coming on the pod, as always.
We'll be better next time, fellas.
Yeah, we'll get him next time. But I thought this was a good podcast right here. Me and TJ trying to be more consistent. We got the NBA real deal season coming up soon, so we're going to try ahead and grind out one more podcast before then. We want to talk over the Western Conference and Eastern Conference standings, so that should be an exciting episode. The West is stacked. If you do check out Dash and Hoop on this channel with our other videos, you go through the log. We did go over the Western Conference and see how fucking wild it is. I might switch up some things though. After this preseason, I can't give you the same list, I don't think. I think we got some different things to look at here. But those are my last touches. You got anything else to add on there, TJ?
Nah, thanks everybody for joining us and tuning in. And yeah, we'll see you guys later this week with a little closer to game action, and then eventually, giving us our first regular season game starting a week from today.
Yeah. Episode 3 is Cash Money AP. Y'all have a good rest of your night.